Hi, in this video, we are going to explore how we can scrape unlimited targeted business leads from Google Maps without using any API and with complete automation. By just using this software. You will find the download link for this software in the description below. Once downloaded, you will receive a zip file like this. First, you need to extract this file by right-clicking on it. After extracting, open the resulting folder. Inside, navigate to the release folder and then to the exe binary folder. The current name of this folder is v.1.18.7, but this name may change in the future as the software is regularly updated. All software listed on our official website is continuously updated by our developers. Therefore, the folder name represents the software version and may change with future updates. Regardless of the version, you need to open the appropriate folder and locate the Google Maps Data Scraper Pro Plus application to proceed. As soon as you execute this application, it runs immediately without any installation wizard. To give you a brief overview of the application, you can see that it opens Google Maps within the software itself, meaning it does not open an external browser when we click the Start button. There are some important settings worth looking at, which we will see later, as they are very important. But for now, let's run the scrapper with the default settings to see how it works. First, it asks for the geolocation. Basically, whatever location you define here will become your targeted city, state, or country. This means that you are targeting the specified keyword in this particular country or state. For example, here it has automatically selected the United States of America as my default location because it detected my location from my IP address. You can also choose a specific state like Delaware or Wyoming. Essentially, you need to define just one keyword and specify where you want to collect your business leads. Since United States of America is already selected, I prefer to go with it because it will cover a broader range of leads. If I choose a specific state, the data for the companies associated with my chosen keyword might be limited. Next, we have the keyword section. Here, you can either click on this book icon to select your organization type from a long list of business or organization types, or if your organization type is not listed, you can manually define your keyword. For example, I have selected accounting software company here. If your organization type isn't listed, manually entering your keyword will not affect the process. It works the same way as searching for a company or business type on Google Maps. The difference is that instead of collecting leads one by one, this software opens all companies simultaneously and automatically maintains an Excel file of the data. Currently, I have selected accounting software company as my keyword because I am targeting accounting software companies in the United States whose data is available on Google Maps. The language is set to English by default, and I will proceed with this setting. Next, we have the Threads option. Threads simply refer to browser windows. This option asks how many browser windows the software can open simultaneously. If you are using your local PC with your daily use internet network, such as your home or office network that is shared with your mobile devices, family, or colleagues, it is recommended to use only one thread. The reason is that if you open multiple threads, Google might detect it as a bot activity and could potentially blacklist your IP. If your main ISP IP gets blacklisted, it could cause issues. However, if you are using a Windows server, like I am currently using, you can go with 2 or even 3 threads because an RDP session can be deployed, destroyed, and recreated easily. If you have configured proxies, which we will discuss later on how to acquire and configure, you can open as many threads as you want. Proxies are relatively inexpensive, easy to integrate or deintegrate, and they provide instant setup with the option to change them whenever necessary. Therefore, based on the proxies, you can increase the number of threads to enhance the speed and efficiency of the scraping process. After configuring these 4 settings, essentially tailoring them to your requirements, we are ready to run the scraper. So, simply click the Start button. It will take a bit of time to run because we haven't adjusted any settings to speed it up yet. We are running it with the default settings for now. Let's allow it to take its time, and in the meantime, I will fast forward the video a bit. Our scraping is complete, and as we can see below, it has provided us with all the details of the companies listed on Google Maps. This includes their business names, reviews, business type, address, website, phone numbers, and email addresses. An interesting feature is that if a company or business had multiple email addresses listed, it has extracted all of them. For example, if there was one email address, it provided one; if there were two, it provided two; and if there were four, it provided all four. Google Maps typically shows only one email address, but this software fetched multiple email addresses by visiting the company's website and extracting the information from there. Additionally, it has scraped a lot of other information about the companies. It has provided us with data for around 30 companies, specifically accounting software companies in the United States. It took approximately 30 minutes to complete this task, averaging about 1 minute per company using the default settings. Next, we will look at how to speed up this process. The software has gathered a lot of information for lead generation purposes, but we might not need all of it. But for now, let's see how to export this data first. To export all this information, we need to go to the Results tab, where we will find an Export button. First, we will see the history of all the queries we have run so far, with the latest queries displayed at the top. Within the latest query, you will find the Export button. Click on it, and first, you need to define the path where you want to save your exported data, such as the desktop. Next, you will choose the format in which you want the data. The software mainly supports a few formats, but the primary ones used are the two Excel formats, XLSX and CSV. I will attempt to export the data in this Excel format. Our data has been exported, and the error I encountered was due to my own mistake. Actually, I clicked the Export button twice. The error message indicates that you cannot save the same file with the same name in two different locations, which is absolutely correct. So, this error occurred because of the double click. Nonetheless, our data has been successfully exported. If we click OK and check the desktop, we should see the exported file. So, as you can see, this is the export.xlsx file we received after exporting the data. Additionally, we have another folder named Media which contains all the images of the companies that the Google Maps scraper has also scraped. This means that if a company had photos on Google Maps, it has also scraped those images. Due to these reasons, the scraping process is relatively slow, which we will work on eliminating in the future. Now let's move on to the most important part of this software, which is its settings. When we visit the settings, we see some common options at the top. One of them asks whether to scrape emails and social media. By default, this is set to yes, and we should leave it as yes because both of these are important. Additionally, the software presents an interesting option, Contact Page URL Substring. This means that when the software visits websites and finds multiple emails for a company, It extracts these emails not from Google Maps directly but by visiting the company's listed website and checking their contact page. The software predicts that the contact page URL will contain contact or contacts. Since contact is a common slug, many websites have URLs however, they might not have URLs with contacts. So here, we can add contact-us to ensure the software accurately predicts and finds the contact form pages on general websites. Next, we have the options for organizations to scrap limit and limit per key. These two values should be kept the same, but you can define them as you wish. There is no problem in setting them to any value you want. Unlimited means unlimited. As I mentioned at the beginning of my video, we started with unlimited, and we still are. How it will be unlimited will be discussed later, but for now, you can define any number here. Just ensure that the number you set at the top is the same as the one you set below. In the lookup settings, there isn't much you need to adjust because when you define your location on the main page or go with the default location, these settings will be autofilled accordingly. Then we have a very interesting type of filter that asks us whether we want to filter our scraping based on ratings. This means if we select yes here, the software will provide us with data in order, starting from the top-rated companies to those with lower ratings, depending on the filter rate we set below. For example, it specifies a range, and based on what we define, the data will be filtered accordingly. After that, if we want to exclude companies that don't have any reviews on Google Maps, we can adjust the setting here. This allows us to choose whether we want all companies or only those that have been reviewed by at least one person on Google Maps. These above settings won't significantly affect the speed, so you can set it according to your preference without worrying too much about speed. The next tab, however, does impact the speed more noticeably. Like, the Organization Reviews tab asks if you want to scrape reviews as well. Here, you can define a limit, such as reviews to scrape limit 50, meaning if a company has 500 reviews, it won't scrape all 500 but only up to the limit you set. If you want, you can set a large number or decide not to scrape reviews at all. Scraping reviews, especially if there are thousands, can slow down the process. To save time and speed up the scraping process, you can disable this option if you prefer not to scrape reviews. Next is the Organization Photos setting. This can be the most time-consuming or time-saving option. By default, it is set to scrape photos, with a limit of 15 photos per company. This means it will scrape up to 15 photos for each company. Combined with the 50 reviews, photos and reviews, and the 2 additional photos, this is why the scraping process was so slow. If you disable these 2 options, scraping reviews and photos, it will significantly speed up the process. However, if you need these details, you can keep them enabled, but keep in mind that the software will scrape data more slowly. You can define all limits and lengths here, whether for reviews or organization photos. This software provides proper settings for each option, allowing you to control over the scraping frequency and speed by modifying these settings. After configuring all these settings, make sure to save them first. Once saved, we move on to one of the best and most important settings of this software, proxy server configuration. You will see 4 fields here: proxy address, proxy port, proxy username, and proxy password. I'll now show you where to obtain these and which sources are reliable. But before that, let me explain the benefits of configuring a proxy. If you are using a local PC, I previously mentioned the issue of IP blacklisting, and you likely know how significant a problem this can be if your main ISP's IP gets blacklisted. Even on a Windows server, if you perform extensive scraping or run any mining programs, the server provider will eventually notice. If you operate at a high frequency, it may lead to your account being flagged or even blocked, making it difficult to create a new account later. Therefore, configuring a proxy is important, even when using a Windows RDP server for high-level scraping activities. Now let me show you where to get proxies from. First, I'll open my browser, Google Chrome, and navigate to these 2 websites, ipburger.com and ipblanket.com. I have chosen these two websites because the type of proxy we need for this software is not a static or residential proxy. We need data center dedicated IPv4 or IPv6 proxies. These are the same IPs used in servers, and we need such a dedicated IP for configuring in this software. Using static or residential proxies would be a waste of money, and chasing free proxies would waste your time as they typically don't work and will result in errors. I recommend purchasing proxies from either of these two companies. I'll now show you how to order proxies from both. First, let's take a look at IP Blanket. If you click on Data Center Dedicated Proxy, the first thing it will ask you is for your IP version. Please select IPv4. You can choose any country according to your preference. There is no problem with that. For the protocol, always choose HTTP, and for the authentication type, always select username and password. Remember to select HTTP for the protocol and username and password for the authentication type. Do not select SOCKS 5 by mistake, as it will not connect. If you accidentally select SOCKS 5, you can submit a ticket to them, and they will change it for you. It might take a little time, but they will switch the protocol for you. Now, you can define the quantity you need. One IP will cost approximately $7. As you increase the quantity, the total billing amount will adjust accordingly. Now, let me show you how to order from IP Burger. It is similar here. If you select a similar category, you can add it to the cart. Currently, it shows two locations available, US and Canada. I'll select one of them. Initially, it shows a price of $5, but as you proceed further, you'll notice it jumps to $18. This is part of their marketing strategy, where they initially show a lower price. However, the final price is around what you can expect. Plus, IP Burger is on rush to make you order their proxies without asking you about the configuration you need from the start. IP Blanket is a bit more transparent in this regard, even though they also charge a one-time setup fee if you're purchasing for the first time. The price might seem cheaper initially, but the final cost is not significantly different. You can choose either of the two services based on your preference. I generally use IP Blanket proxies especially for these kind of tasks. I have some proxies over here. Let me log into my account to show you how to establish a connection between the proxy and this software. This is the IP, which we need to copy and provide here. Port we need to provide here. Please careful of copying without this colon. Username we need to provide here. And password we need to paste it here. After that, click Test Proxy. You can see the proxy tested and configured successfully. Now when we scrape the data, it will gonna scrape through this proxy IP, not from your server's IP or local ISP's IP. Don't forget to save the settings. That's all for today's video. The software download link, along with the recommended proxies providers link, you will find in the description below. Thanks for watching it.